Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called Show This Apartment. I and my girl have recently moved into this new apartment complex that's definitely way too overpriced compared to what you get. We also found out that it's not soundproof at all. I live on the second floor and on the first floor is the motorbike garage. We are living in Vietnam, so everyone rides motorbikes here. It's definitely way too loud. You can hear guests from other tenants coming in and out of the house as if the doors and walls aren't even there. To top it off, there's a jail-like gate at the front door. Every time someone in the complex comes in or out of the house, it sounds like a nightmare. Especially at 1 or 2 AM. It's like having someone smash two heavy metal objects together next to your ears, not to mention loud bikes. Other issues were no internet for 2 weeks after we moved in, the electric outlet not working, etc. Anyway, after 2 months of this, we had enough and decided to move out. The owner wasn't happy, but she can't do things because we only signed a 2-month contract. We paid a bit more, but it was worth it. She kept trying to get us to show the apartment to new tenants because we work from home. At first we thought what a hassle, then it hit us that we should be warning these people of how bad it is living here. So for the next 2 weeks, for everyone that was interested to see the apartment, we explained to them exactly how bad it was if no one else from the apartment complex's side came along. If there was someone coming with them, we would be trying to give signs of some sort, such as shaking our heads or signing no with our mouth behind the owner's back, and so on. Most of the new tenants understood the sign straight away and walk away with a happy face. The most satisfying part was when couples with newborns were coming to see the apartment or young single moms. I sleep easy, but with the gate situation downstairs, the babies and their moms would definitely have a really bad time here. It was so satisfying to let them know how much of a nightmare and overpriced this apartment is and that they are better off at other places. Made our day much better knowing we did something good. The next story is called Open the Bag. I went to a large university in New York City back in the days when you had to physically visit the library. When you entered, you had to show the contents of your backpack. They really didn't want people bringing food in. The main guy working the bag check was an absolute jerk. He loved poking into your stuff and he was just rude about it. He would sit on the other side of this enormous desk and make you open up every single thing just because he could. And he gave girls an extra hard time. He got really aggressive one day about a white paper bag I had because he thought it was a bakery bag, actually from the pharmacy, and it gave me an idea. I prepared carefully. I went into the library, plopped my backpack in front of him and unzipped it. I made sure the open zipper was hanging over his side of the desk. Open the white bag. No. Open the bag. You don't need to see that, it's not food. Him getting really excited. Open the bag, you are not getting into the library otherwise. So I reached in and pulled the white paper bag out. My carefully prepared tier in the bottom of the bag and my previously opened box worked perfectly. 48 unwrapped tampons cascaded over the desk, his lap and all over the floor. He reacted as if I had poured a bucket of snakes over him. He was so horrified I was afraid he would actually vomit on the spot. He had to pick up every single one and he never made me open my bag again. The third story is called Flight Attendant Compliance. At the time of this event, Classy Flight Attendant, my beautiful wife before we met, is one of the top tier flight attendants for her country's national airline. Strictly speaking, any of the flights that do not involve ports in the USA or its territories are not required to follow all FAA rules. However, whenever they fly to ports regulated by the FAA, they are expected to follow those rules to the T. Of course, it doesn't always work out that way in practice. On this occasion, Classy Flight Attendant has just landed from Europe at her home airport in South America, only to learn that she is being turned around for a round trip to New York City. She protests. By the time she lands in New York City, she will be well outside FAA rest period rules with all the consequences that could follow, but the supervisors don't care. They need her on that flight right now, and away she goes. But she knows the flight to New York isn't the real problem, it's the return trip that will be pure misery. Her compatriots flying home from New York tend to be extremely entitled. They are coming from New York, that makes them somebody now. They will refuse drink service when offered, and then when the flight attendant is 3 or 4 rows further along, push the call button and order a drink. They will keep an attendant hopping back and forth the whole flight for stupid little things, many of the things they could actually do for themselves. Classy flight attendant is tired and knows that dealing with this entitled crowd on the return trip is going to be the worst. As they get into New York, she is told to go check out an in-flight movie for the return trip. The suggestion is made to make it interesting enough to keep the passengers too busy to order the flight crew around that much. Cue the malicious compliance. As she looks over the options, she finds the perfect film. It will keep the passengers riveted to their seats. Frankly, given the nature of the film, she isn't even sure why it exists in the cartridge format used on planes at this time. Perhaps because the format is also used on some yachts and cruise ships? She orders it. Once on board, she keeps it secret. She knows that once she pops it in and it starts to play, the systems in use at the time cannot be stopped. But any time before that, she could be thwarted. Mid-flight, as the plane is well out over the ocean on its way south, she pops it in. Airport 77. For those who don't know, this film is about an airplane crash in the ocean and passengers and crew trying to escape with their lives from 100 feet underwater. The results are immediate and absolute. While there are many white knuckles, no one seems inclined to press their call buttons, and Classy flight attendant has a very quiet, uninterrupted rest for the remainder of the flight home. As she is deboarding, one old lady is heard to say that she will never fly national airline again. When called on the carpet for her movie choice, Classy flight attendant feigns ignorance, claiming to have thought it was the much more comical Airplane and that the name was lost in translation. She is given a 3-day suspension, which is for her a much needed rest. Oh, and she will never be allowed to pick the in-flight movie ever again. The last story is called Following the Matrix. A few years ago, I worked as a field engineer for a call recording company. I worked primarily with 911 agencies and would integrate recording systems with radio and phone systems to record the calls and radio traffic. If you've heard a 911 call on the news from one of a few states along the East Coast, there's a very good chance I built and installed that system. As part of our company's policy, we would do preventive maintenance every 6 months. This was where we went on site, tested everything was functioning properly and showed some value in our maintenance contracts through FaceTime with the customers. After some years, I had climbed the ladder to be the lead engineer, installer and trainer. I trained most of the other engineers and techs within the company, along with performing my normal duties. I had also installed the vast majority of the systems I was doing maintenance on and was extremely familiar with them. A maintenance visit took me around an hour, where it took the new guys 4 to 5 hours, and I would usually knock out 2 to 3 maintenance visits in a single day. I had literally tripled the numbers as the next closest tech. As often happens, eventually the company was bought out. The new owner came in and presented himself as very metrics focused. The problem was that he didn't understand what we did in the field, so his metrics weren't always good ones. Eventually I got written up and put on a performance improvement plan. The reason? Days I didn't have to drive far, I would finish 3 maintenance visits and still be home in less than 6 hours. Again, my actual performance metrics were legitimately triple the next closest tech, and most days I worked well over 8 hours when driving was included. But instead of looking at those metrics, he used time as his only metric and focused solely on the shortest days. And unfortunately for me, I objectively worked less time than anyone else. Now for the malicious compliance. Instead of scheduling the way I had previously, I started scheduling to ensure I had 8 hours a day, every day. Previously, I had started at a customer site at 9 AM, whether it was 1 hour away or 5, so would get up at whatever time that day required. I would also try to knock out multiple customers in the same area on the same trip to save driving time on longer days. Some days I would drive 12 hours total, knock out 3 maintenance visits taking another few hours and have a total day of 15 plus hours. Afterward, I left for sites at exactly 8 AM and tried to get home at exactly 5 PM. For those sites that were 5 hours away, can't do them without a hotel room. Instead of costing a full tank of gas and a single day's wages for 3 clients, it now cost the company the same amount of gas, 3 to 4 nights in a hotel and multiple days of my salary. For closer sites that I didn't need a hotel, I would make sure I didn't leave too soon to get home at exactly 5 PM, so would sit in a server room playing games on my phone for a few hours. If sites were close enough, I would still try to knock out 2 or sometimes 3, but if time was the metric, I was going to make sure I worked as closely to 8 to 5 as possible without doing anything detrimental to a customer. Overall, I was trying to make a point to show that while I may have been meeting the time metric, I was actually doing less work by meeting that metric. We did employee reviews every quarter, so when my next review came around 3 months later, I tried to bring it up. Instead, the new owner praised me for working harder and ignored that I was doing significantly less work. During that meeting, I tried showing that it was costing the company more and I was achieving less by meeting that metric instead of an actual performance metric. But somehow, despite my spreadsheets showing costs, site visits, completed maintenance and everything else, he refused to understand it. He kept praising how my work ethic had improved and didn't want me to change anything or go back. So I didn't change a thing and coasted at that job for the next few years. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. It really helps in the algorithm. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.